Greetings, Jarvis the Allosaurus here. In today's roller coaster review, we will be looking at the super underrated aerodynamics Megalooper, Viper. Before we get into the review, let's talk about Viper's history, and boy is it a long one. Viper was built by the now defunct roller coaster manufacturer Aerodynamics. This company revolutionized the industry and is responsible for why today's roller coasters look like what they do. In June 14, 1959, the roller coaster industry would change forever with the debut of Matterhorn bobsleds, the first ever tubular steel coaster. Although this ride pales in comparison to modern steel coasters, it is still undoubtedly important and will leave its indefinite mark on roller coasters as a whole. With this newfound track, Aero would go on to debut the first modern inverting coaster, Corkscrew, at Knott's Berry Farm in 1968. With the creation of the Corkscrew model, Aero went on to create an even bigger version of it, the Megalooper. In the year 1988, a bright blue behemoth would change the skyline of Great America, that being Shockwave. With the creation of this beast, Six Flags would go on to purchase two more, that being Great American Scream Machine in the year 1989, and of course, Viper in the year 1990. Now fast forward to the year 2024, and Viper stands alone as the last of the 7 inversion Aero Megaloopers. Although it's old, it still dominates the loud and proud Magic Mountain skyline. Now let's move on to some stats, and let me tell you, for a ride this old, it's pretty darn impressive. This monster stands at a whopping height of 188 feet tall, with a drop a bit shorter at 177 feet. This $8 million beast reaches a top speed of 71 miles per hour, blasting through its 7 inversions. Although this Aero Looper is already 34 years old, it still holds some records. It has the 5th tallest vertical loop at 144 feet in the sky, and is still the 4th tallest coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Also not to mention, it's the tallest Megalooper, and the only one remaining. Initially, Viper was a very popular attraction at Six Flags Magic Mountain. However, nowadays, it's usually a walk-on with barely a line at all. This is due to the uncomfortable headbanging, although personally, I didn't find its roughness to be all that bad. In fact, I still think this ride might be smoother than Scream in some areas. And, X2. The aspect of its roughness puts the ride in danger due to the lack of attention and given the high cost to maintain such an old structure. It wouldn't be surprising to see this coaster go, which is extremely unfortunate as I feel it's still an amazing ride. So let's look into it, shall we? After departing the station, the train will climb up a massive lift with those signature Aero anti-rollbacks. Ah, music to my ears. After the enormous ascent, the train plunges down that 177-foot drop, and I'll be honest, the first time I rode it, I was honestly terrified of this drop. It was very surprising how much punch that thing has, and the whip in the back row is borderline neck snapping, in a good way of course. Using the 71 miles per hour achieved at the bottom of the drop, the train climbs up 144 feet into the sky, into that vertical loop. This first loop is super forceful, and definitely a grey out moment, and it's most definitely amazing. However, following this is a pretty horrendous transition. Classic Aero. The 180-degree turn following has a very terrible entry transition, so janky that it's kind of charming in a way. However, the following transition won't be as much so. The train then rushes into the double vertical loop, which is equally forceful as well. As much as I enjoy these loops, there is one moment after the second loop that always causes me to bang my head really hard against the hard back of those trains. It's rather pain-inducing and one of my issues with the ride. Following this is a nice hop into the mid-course brake run, which offers some pretty good ejector airtime. This moment actually caught me off guard the first time I rode it. Similarly to Goliath, aka the best ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain, the train is slow to a crawl. However, this is actually a good thing, as the following inversion is pretty rough to put it the slightest. The batwing following the twisting drop gives some really good hang time, but like the second vertical loop, also suffers from some headbanging. After exiting from the batwing, the train enters its double corkscrew, which offers another great dose of hang time, and is one of my favorite parts of the ride. The train then enters a weird dip that goes underneath the chain lift and into the final brakes. As you've probably noticed, this ride is pretty rough, and janking in some moments, which off-puts many people. Nevertheless, if you can look past the old Aero jank of Viper, it's a rather fun ride, and has a variety of delicious forces to enjoy. In my eyes, I don't think this ride should be removed from the fabulous skyline of Six Flags Magic Mountain. It holds not only history, but decades of thrills from its past. To keep this amazing Megalooper to continue its run, I feel that there needs to be some retracking in some areas and unquestionably a new coat of paint. With these adjustments, Viper can continue to thrill many generations to come.